Hello, I'm teacher Elsabe, and this is a very short video to express my amusement and my questions around manners in classrooms. I find that even though you teach learners about modals as an aspect of grammar, they might not be used to using modals in daily life. So as soon as you then also tell them about language register, they're not sure which modals to use. Now, language register is how you might adjust your level or formality of language according to the scenario you're in. So if you're at work, or you're applying for a job, or you're asking for a bank loan, then you might use a more formal register because that is what is expected. A boss might not speak to a worker in too brisk a manner because that might seem rude, and obviously a worker won't speak to a boss in sort of curt ways. So we all know automatically what is expected in different scenarios, but I find it quite interesting that learners in South Africa, maybe because they aren't English first language, aren't accustomed to using words like could I, may I, would it be all right, might it be an inconvenience if I, X, Y, and Z. They do know to add please, and they do know the modal can, but they don't know many of the other modals like should, could, would, might. Another thing that's really interesting is that learners, maybe because they're comfortable in class, will forget small formalities like putting up their hand. For instance, you might be in the class, it's Friday, it's been a long week, and 5 minutes to 1, everyone's watching the clock, and at 3 minutes to 1, they start packing away their own books. This isn't necessarily a reflection on you as a teacher, because that is how learners might be if they feel comfortable with you. Recently, I experienced a quite amusing situation with someone who came to assess me in my class, so a very dignified person, a mentor, coming to assess my teaching style. And my learners did that as well. They started packing up 3 minutes before the end of the lesson. So I had to snip my last point in the bud. I had to nip it in the bud. And this is what happens when learners are comfortable. But it was interesting that they did it in front of a stranger and an important person. So learners also forget to put up their hand and say, ma'am, it's 2 minutes before the end of the lesson. So my son actually asked us the other day, what does one do in adult conversation if you need to say something? Do you also put up your hand? And my husband quite correctly said, well, you can, but it's more a case of in adult life you get attuned to the rhythm of a conversation and you learn how to transition into the conversation. So it's a subtle thing, and you might then say something like, this is a great point you've made, I would like to add blah, blah, blah. Or would it be inconvenient if I notified you of the time that we have left? So I think my learners that I have at the moment are amazing. I teach amazing learners at school and overseas. Interestingly, my learners in Europe are much more formal, much more polite, much higher register than those in South Africa, and even those in Britain. You'll find that learners in Europe or in Russia will automatically have a much higher register. And that might be because of the culture there. I have heard that in Russia, it's impolite to say anything bad about someone in public. You can say what you like behind closed doors, but in public, you've got to be highly tolerant and accept diversity. So as we're going up towards 1st of May, Workers' Day, I'm thinking of all my workers at school who will one day be workers in business life. I hope that they're going to always be able to fit into the right slot and deliver the right register of language. Bye for now.